Raptor Freak Alexiot's here for Thursday Think Tank. On Thursdays, we like to come together as a hive mind as Raptor fans and talk about positive, good things in the future for the Raptors. And this is kind of the first Thursday Think Tank since the season ended last week. And, it's kind of a free for all. There's no specific things that I want to talk about. So anything anybody wants to talk about for the future for the Raptors, whether it's trades, whether it's speculation about free agency, speculation about the draft, anything at all as far as offseason stuff for the Raptors, it's free game right now. Now, I just a little bit of house cleaning. I always like to start with a little bit of good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good, first of all, is I just saw on Instagram Delano Banton working out already, like working hard right now. Because I'm going to tell you right now, for the young players like Delano Banton and Justin Champagnie, these guys are going to, there's no off season, first of all. They are going to be going at it right away, right now, because they know that Summer League is very, very close. And the time for them to make gains on their game is going and working out and working as much as they can right now. So why wouldn't they? Because really, it's not like they were like heavy rotation players like Fred and Pascal, and they need to go have a vacation. And, they can continue to work hard year round. They don't really need a break to recoup their bodies in some ways, much like some of the really heavy starters have had to do. In fact, I seen on Instagram, Scotty Barnes is in Bahamas and a nice beach resort right now with his friends. And it's just a nice palm trees and blue skies and blue water all around him. And I love seeing that. He looked really happy and nice and calm. And then I see that Chris Boucher is actually still in Toronto. And he's posted pictures from his window in his condo up in the skyscrapers of downtown Toronto. Saying go Leafs go. So this Montreal man is supporting the Leafs in the playoffs against Tampa Bay Lightning. And unfortunately, they did not win their second game, and they're even 1-1 at this point. Banana Bread 10, let's go. Banana Bread 10. Yes, good to see you, my friend. We're just talking anything right now. What I did yesterday was I binge watched the whole HBO series Winning Time, the Lakers, it's not a docu-series. It's a cartoon. It really is a cartoon. But yeah, I watched the whole thing. So anybody who's watched Winning Time and wants to talk about it today in any kind of detail, I know what I'm talking about it now at this point because I actually watched it and saw it. There's a couple of things about it that I really like. Actually, there's things about it that I didn't think were going to be that good, and they were actually really good. There's some real strengths to the show. But then there's also some real like bad stuff that just isn't necessary and stuff like that. Like I really think the guy who plays Magic Johnson is absolutely fantastic. Like that guy is perfect to play him. In fact, he sometimes sounds like him and looks exactly like him at times. And that's fantastic. That's an amazing casting. And even the guy who plays Kareem, he's very good also because he really has his delivery in the way he talks, like Kareem talks. And, he's pretty good as far as like, these guys are tall guys themselves. So finding the right chops of acting with the size, that's really important for this. But there's a couple of castings in that show that I'm just like, no, come on. And the biggest one that I have a problem with is Paul Westhead as Jason Segel from what is it, How I Met Your Mother or whatever. Yeah, he is bad. Like he's really bad. Like I don't even think he's a very good actor generally. But in this one, holy crap, what he's doing to Paul Westhead is just absolutely fucked up. I understand Paul Westhead wasn't a very confident dude and stuff like that, but this guy is just not playing him well at all. Now, I say Pat Riley's really good, though. I think Adrian Brody did a good job with Pat Riley for the most part, and he's going to get more and more interesting, obviously, as his role on the team evolves. But yeah, very interesting show. I'm glad I watched it. I have more admiration for it since I watched it. I was kind of poo-pooing it before I even saw it, but there are a lot of the same problems with it. Tom Duke saying, guess I got to watch as it has really caused a ruckus. Good morning. Yeah, it really has caused a ruckus, and I can totally understand why the Laker legends don't like it because it's not very flattering to them. In the most places, like there's not very flattering to Magic in a lot of ways. It's not very flattering to Kareem, and it's definitely not flattering to Jerry West. And I can totally understand why he's upset about it and he wants to sue them. Now, the thing is, when I was a kid, I remember Jerry West being kind of out of control like this. So I know that it is based on some reality and stuff like that, but still, it's like, this isn't necessary to do to a guy like a legend like this and paint him in this kind of picture to teach younger generations that history and that chapter of Laker history and paint him like that is just really messed up. Like they really do him wrong in a lot of places. Let's see. Paul B saying Scotty is going to be a beast next year, all-star. I really hope so. I think that this is really something that we could, it's kind of like this. We got to temper our expectations. Like Paul, let's think about it this way. What if Scotty comes back next year and he's just exactly what he was this year? Will we be upset? But the thing is that he'd be the same level of what he did this year, but he would be a little bit more smarter as far as like, maybe a little more aggressive, maybe a little bit more smarter in specific plays in the second and stuff like that. But maybe he doesn't have a huge jump because this is something we need to be ready for is to temper our expectations with Scotty and Precious, just in case there isn't a huge growth next season that we may get a lot of what we got this year from. I don't think this is what's going to happen, but it is something that we all need to be ready for just in case. That sometimes people grow in different spurts at different times in their career. And that it may be that in the second year, they're not as much as big or different and stuff like that. But I think you're right. I'm leaning more towards what you're saying, that he is going to make a huge leap and a jump in his game next year. But also, this is really what was echoed by Masai and Nick this week, is that we need to be patient and we need to allow for our young guys to develop at the speed that they're supposed to naturally. And I think that this is going to happen either way. Like, honestly, they're just too talented and they're too hungry to get better. That they will get better no matter what. I can see it. So let's see. Sue's here. Good morning, everyone. I'm back. What are we talking about today? Well, today's a Thursday think tank, Sue, and it's I was inspired by watching the Winning Time HBO docu series. I shouldn't call it a docu series, cartoon. I binge watched it yesterday, so I saw the crazy Laker dynasty show from that show. And I'm kind of inspired to talk about when is it going to be winning time for the Raptors again? And are we already in the cycle of going into winning time, in the next year or so? So that's it's a free-for-all off-season think tank. Just talk about whatever you want, Sue. You have a subject that you want to talk about, even if it's not Raptors related, it could be sports related or any sort of thing. We'll talk about it. Tom Duke's saying, yes, he is. Paul, woohoo. Yeah, Tom's believing in Scotty Barnes. And you know what? We really should, because honestly, he has this aptitude. He has this drive. He has this skill and talent that is going to continue to build and build and build. And we don't know where he's going to be going to by the time this time next year. He could be a whole other level of a player, really. Everybody's saying good morning. Lumpy Rex is saying, what is Scotty's path to All-Star or MIP? Well, we've been talking. I think All-Star may be closer than MIP. People have been talking a lot about Ja Morant getting the most improved player and how it's like, well, listen, if you're in your first 3 years of your NBA career, you're going to improve with huge jumps because you're learning the game and stuff like that. And some people are saying that Ja doesn't need to get that award because he really hasn't realized any kind of basic pro level for who he should be and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, it's weird to give it to him. So I don't know if most improved is something that he should aim for, but if he does get in the conversation for it next year, I won't be upset. But getting an All-Star, yeah, that could be very interesting and stuff like that. Watching the Winning Time yesterday, I remembered that, yeah, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were both All-Stars as rookies. And of course, Scotty didn't get that. But it's not like it's a failure because they don't give All-Stars to rookies very, very often at all and stuff like that. So, all right, let's see what else is being saying to here. I think it's more All-Star than most improved player, Lumpy, for your question. Paul B saying Scotty putting up 15, 8, and 3 is more than enough if Siakam, OG, Van Vliet, Gary all play their game. It's the center position and the bench that need help. Yeah. And I'm so glad that the leaders of our franchise, Masai Ujiri and Nick Nurse, both echoed that this is rim protection that we need some sort of stopper against a bigger center like Embiid or Jokic, and that they are looking at the around for that. They love to get that. It's like Masai said, he doesn't discriminate against the big guys, and he has been looking for this for us. But I think it's also been the kind of thing where he wants to make sure it fits. And that if they're going to make any kind of commitment to a big guy, they want to make sure that it's not going to be a bust. And that's one of the trickiest parts of this, of filling out your roster, is getting a center that isn't a bust, because a center can become very useless very quickly. And you got to be really smart about who you get. And once again, we said this over and over again. We need a center that has mobility. We need a center that can be switchable with our regular guys for what we want to do with our plan, with positionless and switching around. And, we talked about Mobamba being a good example of that. Yeah, I think that if these guys all put up similar numbers to this year, but it maybe everybody has a little bit of an increase, this will be good. And that might be good enough to show the increase overall. It's like not everyone has to have a huge jump, but if everybody has a little bit of a jump, at least some of the guys have a huge jump, then boom, we're going to be a top 4 Eastern Conference team in the NBA next year. Because listen, as long as we're healthy and we're learning and gelling more and more, we're going to get better. And that even though people like Shaq and Charles can't see it, it's just inevitable. It's just the way it works. So, and we were already, in some ways, I actually feel like our team was a 50-win team this year, and that if we'd had a better first month with not being so, sub 500, losing a lot of games at home and missing Siakam, that we would have had 50 wins this year at least and stuff like that. So, all right, let's see. Banana Bread Tan saying, I hope everyone works on shooting, especially their mid-range for Pascal and Scotty, maybe even OG. And then again, if Precious and OG can shadow Thaddeus Young, bro. Yeah, listen, I mean, every single one of them, if they could just become more consistent shooters, that would be fantastic, because every single one of them is inconsistent shooting in different ways, in different kind of ways and stuff like that. Like Fred may be more, we need to get him more consistent, easier looks is what the kind of thing I'm looking at with Fred. And then Pascal, as he said, he's got to get more consistent from 3-point range and working on that. And maybe OG, he needs to be more consistently aggressive, trying to score for himself. Or Gary Trent needs to continue in the direction he went this year, honestly, and maybe just get more consistent with, his percentages as far as like being better percentage from 3-point line, not having too many streaks where he's missing. And then the stuff, everything inside the 3-point line that Gary Trent Jr. is doing is fantastic, honestly. In fact, I love the floaters. I love all the steps to the side, mid-range stuff. That's all gravy. And he can get better and better at that, but he's already really good at that kind of stuff. So, yeah, if all of them can work on specific details of their shooting game, and then they show gains and better percentages next year because of it, that'd be great. That would be absolutely great. So excuse me. Yeah, Precious and OG can shadow Thaddeus. That's an interesting idea. I'm wondering if Thaddeus is going to be in our plans. Like, it wasn't totally tip the cap this week between Masai and Nick's interviews about what Thaddeus and his plans are. Masai did say that Thaddeus was exactly what we needed as far as with the deal and his veteran presence and his ability to give information and be a guider, a mentor to the rest of the team. That was really valuable, but it may be that he doesn't see him for next year also. That's the crazy thing. I feel like he fits really well, and because he plays the positionless scheme really well, that they should really re-sign him. In fact, it may be that because we showed success with him in the playoff and at the end of the year in this regular season, that other teams are coveting him. That maybe he was at the end of the bench for the Spurs at the beginning of the year and maybe on his way out of the league. But now that we've revitalized his career a bit by showing that he can be a very quality veteran off the bench, he may have some other suitors this summer. So it's the whole thing about what the money is and what his choices are, and then figuring it out. So I don't think it's a complete slam dunk that even if we want Thad Young and we offer him money, that we will get him, because there could be other teams involved that do want him and they may outbid us. And I don't know how much we should be willing to spend on him just in case. He's very old at this point. He's not very old, but he's old. And there's a wall, there's a ceiling, there's a drop off that he could hit and just like woo. And then we're like, oh great, now we're paying this guy $12 million, and he's a shell of himself even from last year or something like that. We don't want that. So that's going to be the interesting thing with him. Now, as far as with Chris, I think it's a slam dunk. I think that we are for sure going to be re-signing Chris Boucher. And I'm going to knock on wood because I really want this to be solidified and happen. I mean, like I said just a little bit ago, he's still here in Toronto. He's on his offseason. He's at home. And home is Toronto. He's not leaving to go back to Montreal. He's not leaving to go to the States or to the islands or anything like that. Maybe he's going to the islands sometime this summer. But he's still here in Toronto, and he's at home. That's what I'm saying. So it makes more sense that he will be re-signed for sure this offseason, for sure. But I think it's smart. Like if Thaddeus is still in our fold, Banana Bread Tan, Precious and OG could learn so many veteran tricks from him. Like whether it's just like these little, like when you come into the game and you need a quick basket, this is how I get free for an open little hook and down near the paint, and get a quick, easy 2 baskets to establish my game right away. And that this is something that you guys should be trying to do to get your offensive games going in every single game and stuff like that. It's just little vet tricks and things like that, the knowledge that he can pass on. Click 2Am's here. Good to see Click. Which shooters do you think would be a great fit on this team, keeping in mind someone we can realistically get in free agency? Well, I haven't seen the free agency list yet. I should probably go get it and review it and really start looking for targets as far as what you're saying here. Just off the top of my head, like, anybody that we've been mentioning lately, like as far as like Clarkson or let me think. I really don't know who's available. Like, if you guys have a name that you're interested in, or you've heard that may be possible this summer, bring them up and we can analyze each one that you guys think and stuff like that. But off the top of my head, I don't even know who's coming up for free agency in general in the NBA at this moment. But I will go do this research. You just pointed to a hole or something that I need to go find out about right here. Click. Sue I think we are on the right path. I think we could have gone further than we did this year, but we weren't consistent enough. But if we become more consistent, become more consistent and get a little more firepower off the bench, then I think we aren't far off. Yeah. I think honestly, the biggest thing that derailed us this offseason or this postseason was the injuries. Like if we had been fully healthy, like we were rolling into it, if Gary had been sick and all this kind of stuff, we would have beat Philadelphia. We really would have. If we had had Fred and Scotty and a real Gary the whole time. I really, truly believe this. So it's really hard to gauge about how much better we could have done after that, considering that we didn't have the health at the right time, and it really messed us up. And the other thing about losing the way we did is really going to be a good fuel to the fire for Scotty. And like the way he felt and stuff like that, this is really good. We want him to get this feeling early and learn how to be like, I don't want to avoid this no matter what, because this will be really good for us to see whether he's the kind of player that is such a badass that wants to win no matter what, that he's going to do whatever he can to help them to win. And as he gets older and more mature and understands his game and his powers on the court more and more, he'll be able to he'll be able to control the game in more different ways to help us for sure win and stuff like that. And he's just learning. But already you can see he's that kind of player that has all kinds of different intangibles and different things that he puts on the court that all add up in the formula towards us winning more and more and more and consistently, because that really is what it is. Like him and Masai Ujiri, if their favorite words are win. It's like if they're putting a text into their phone and their suggested words for the next thing they're going to put in is win is always on that list. It's like it's the and a and win. It's on their text list for words they always use. Banana Bread Tan saying, look into Christian Coloco. He looks like Chris Boucher with more upside. All right, let me just see real quick. I'm going to look and see what this guy looks like. Since we are on. All right, Christian Coloco is wow. Okay, he plays for Arizona, And looks like he had a game against Michigan where he scored 22 points, 4 blocks. That was on November the 21st. He can shoot free throws. Yeah, he looks really skinny. Is he what? How tall is he? Is he was like 7? They calling him a poor man's DeAndre Ayton. All right. Well, listen, that kind of guy would be great to draft possibly. Like if he's a really good guy and he's available at our 33rd pick this offseason, hey, why not? He looks like he may be a good project. I like that he's skinny and he looks like he's very mobile and stuff like that. But you're saying he has more upside than Chris. That may be that what he can fill out a little more. Maybe he's a little stronger. Maybe he has a little bit more offensive skills already coming in. Very interesting player from Arizona, and who knows? He looks pretty good from the eye test, and just looking at his a little bit of his stats and things on his wingspan's right. That's for sure. He's definitely got the right wingspan. So Koloko, we're going to remember Koloko. Banana Brit Tan has brought him up. Sue's saying we need an additional guard for sure. If we get a big guy, it has to be someone who can move and shoot. Honestly, look at Bam from Miami. He isn't big. If we can, some of our guys improving him more. Yeah, I think this is true, and this is the teams that are really good and the teams that are the creme de la creme of the NBA in my eyes are Miami, Golden State, and us. And none of these three teams are actually using a true center anymore. And this is why I think that our hype about needing a center is kind of not really necessary in some ways. Is that Miami? I don't think Bam Adebayo is actually a center. He's a power forward to me. And then Golden State, half the time, they're running Draymond at center and stuff like that. So what we're doing here isn't that crazy or weird. It's just, like us, those other teams, when they play teams like Jokic, they have to figure out schemes that work better for against him. And that just means extra doubling or something like that and those kind of things. So that's the thing. Getting a center could be such a big chunk of your salary cap that if you really want to get a quality guy like we're crying out for, that may be a huge chunk of our salary cap that we, don't necessarily want to spend on a specialty player that really is only to defend two different really big guys in the court, in the league. It really would be for Embiid and Jokic. And then like what other teams you can get away with not having that kind of center. So it's a real conundrum. For one, part of it is the last couple of years, us in the Tampa year saying we just need a center, we just need a center, and then part of it is do we need a center? It's like that is a real Thursday think tank kind of conundrum and question that we really need to think about. Is be careful what you ask for because we may get a center, it may be a disaster. And it may be just dead wood on our bench, somebody that we just shouldn't have invested in, and we're just like all like, oh my gosh, the way Utah fans feel about Rudy Gobert right now and stuff like that. So it's an interesting like I'm still not sold on it being necessary. Now the other thing you're talking about, Sue, is absolutely necessary. We do need some shooters. We need better shooters, people that can shoot. So yeah, it's very interesting dilemma, and we'll have to just trust in Bobby and Masai. Banana Bread Tan saying Christian Koloko is 7 foot tall Cameroonian available in this year's draft. Siakam's countryman. Okay, so he's from Cameroon. That's a bonus, obviously, and he's 7 feet tall. Maybe he could actually be a true center. Now, like I said, in my eye test, just looking at this guy right now, actually he does have a pretty good muscle on the side of his arm, better than Boucher. He looks like he might be pretty good. I'm seeing double games and stuff like that. I'd have to see how fast he is. Like he may be big and skinny like that, but he may not have quickness. Is the one thing about him. But I'll actually watch the play, the highlights of him and see him move around instead of just taking a look at him just now. Sue's saying aggressive under the basket. We may not need a traditional big. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Nick says, he's like, what if we have like two or three guys that can try and guard and both come and get them and stuff like we already have been doing. In some ways that works. Paul B saying Montrezl Harrell is a free agent. I'd take a year of him teaching Precious how to play tougher. He's an interesting player. Like sometimes I have questions about his character because he has been kind of taken. He gets sent away from teams very often. He got sent away from the Clippers. He got sent away from Washington last year and sent to Charlotte. You know, he's a hard edge guy, and I love his fire, and he's definitely the kind of like edge that maybe can really increase and help us. And I don't mind this idea that you're talking about. I think that Harrell could actually teach Precious a lot. Now, could he be the guy that we say, all right, he's not really a center. He's kind of a power forward still, also. But if we get him, would he be able to help us fight Embiid? Would he be able to help us try and control Jokic? I think so. And he's a vet too. You know, we just want to make sure that he's the right kind of leadership on our team, though. Also, that he's not teaching our younger players bad habits or bad kind of ways to be a pro and stuff like that. And I don't know. He seems like a character guy in a lot of different ways, but also very fiery and also could possibly cause problems on your team also with personality. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, I like the idea. He's not somebody that I say is a non-starter. Like I don't say no. I never want him on the team because he's a knucklehead. But he's intriguing to me because definitely because of the edge and because of the aggression and just the different things that he does like that. He's not the kind of person that I would say no. I say, yeah, if he was on our team, I'd be excited about it. And I'd be very intrigued and interested and see how he would work out and how he could really help us. Click to him saying Fred needs to develop a consistent floater in his game. Yeah, yeah, I like that idea. Part of the problem is that like once again, once he goes in the land of the Giants down low, it's like whenever he throws anything up, it's fair game for anybody. They can come and get him from any side and stuff like that. You know, the best way that Fred scores near the basket is really using his body and the rim as a protector to get away the ball away from the person who's guarding him. Because otherwise, he's really easy to stop, like really easy to block. But I do like the whole floater idea. So you're talking about like a little mid range, kind of like what Maxey does, like when he attacks the basket and he kind of just lofts up a little like teardrop floater over people and it just kind of falls in. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe that is something that he'll work on this summer. I would like to see Fred try and get a little bit more offensive skills because it really does seem like he's limited to being a 3-point shooter at this point. That I know that he drives the basket, but almost every time he drives the basket, he's kicking it out to someone or he's looking for the pass. And that he's not necessarily looking to finish when he's going there. And people are starting to play him that way. They're not playing him to finish. They're playing him to look for the pass, and then he's getting the ball turned over and stuff like that. So, yeah, any more ways that he can round his game out is better. But we have to also realize, you know, he's limited in some ways purely because of his height. And the league is so tall down near the basket at this point. It's really hard as a little guy to get your points in there. You have to be absolutely quick and really protect the ball from the defender with either your body or the rim by coming up and under or whatever. Click's also saying Montrez would be a great fit. And G says, we would love Montrez. All right. Well, listen, we got 3 votes right here. I think if we're doing a Raptor Freak cult voting, if we get 1 nomination and then 2 people second it and third it, that means it was really a good idea. So you guys really like Montrez. And you know what? I'm with you. If he was a name that ended up on a roster next season, it'd be intriguing. It'd be fun. And it'd definitely be like more of that edge and physicalness that, you know, we're going to go back to Philadelphia and everybody's trying to kill Siakam. I want Montrezl Harrell standing next to him. Sure. Yeah, I do. I want him out there with him. Tom Duke saying Masai was also hinting at his faith in Malachi, was telling, hoping for Fred VanVleet 2.0. Yeah, it really was nice to hear Masai's belief in Malachi Flynn. That, like, listen, he saw when he started before he messed up his hamstring, and that opportunity was so good for him because he was actually really consistent starter when Fred was hurt, and he was able to start for him for that little bit of time. And it's true, yeah. That was one of the names that Masai Ujiri said that we have faith in and that we really believe that this guy can follow in the steps. Kyle Lowry at first, and then Fred VanVleet following Kyle, and then Malachi following Fred after him. So he hasn't given up on him, and that totally tells me that the 3rd year of Malachi's contract will be a very important one of his rookie contract. That this is the year for him to do or die. that he needs to really show that improvement, because after this is like they have to figure out whether they want to give him another contract or not. And I would think that most Raptor fans are like, no, don't give him any money because he hasn't consistently done anything for us. So this year, he really has to be consistent. And this is the thing, Malachi, this summer, you better shoot like crazy this summer. I want you to shoot like 5,000 shots a day if you have to, because you really need to get dead on your 3-point shots. You have to absolutely make them if you're open. And honestly, we need you to become that 3-point shooter off our bench. Like if any one of these guys had shown up and done this consistently this year, we would be championing them. We would be saying these guys are heroes because they showed up and they were a 3-point threat off the bench that we were crying out for all year. So Malachi, you still have time, it sounds like, because Masai Ujiri is saying he believes in you. So you better come through for him and show that he believed in the right person. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe in him in a lot of ways. I don't think he has made a jump in his rookie or second year in any kind of way. In fact, in some ways, he was better in his rookie year than he was last year. This past year we just finished. So that's the thing. We got to see him make that jump ahead from both the years and be even better than like the Tampa year, because he was really better in the Tampa year than he was this past year. All right, let's keep going. Click saying Montrez provides toughness, which we need. Definitely provides toughness. Definitely provides edge. He provides more offensive rebounding. He doesn't have really a shot. There's a couple of knocks on him. Like, he's not a good shooter from outside. He has to shoot within 15 feet of the basket to be like that is a detriment in some ways, because we do like our guys to be able to have range all the way out to the 3-pointer and stuff like that. But that may be the only real nitpicky thing that I have about him, is his range is very limited within 15 feet of the basket. Tom Duke's saying he could be pumping the tires. Masai is a slick salesman. Listen, hey, whatever Masai's doing and stuff like that, he's a badass, honestly. I do hate that he said the tank word again. Don't say the tank word. And, also, like, sometimes he does a snafu in his press conferences where he may say something. I'm like, no, Masai, don't say that. You're being too honest. You're being too out there and I gotta admire him in a way because I understand that, but also it's like sometimes there's a line where you don't want to talk too much and show too much or give too much away. And sometimes he really walks that line. And that whole Tampa tank comment, he shouldn't have said that. I said this over and over again. Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri should not have the word tank in their vocabulary at this point. And it's not that I think they'll get in trouble or anything. It's just that it's just something that they don't need to be saying, even though they did do a little bit of a tank at the end of last season. Click saying, I don't see him leaving Charlotte, though. That's his hometown. Okay, so he's actually from Charlotte. So he's very happy with the deal when Washington sent him to Charlotte halfway through the season last year. Okay, well, I could see that too. And that would make sense. Sue says she really wants to re-sign Chris Boucher. Yeah, I think that that's a very common sentiment among all of us. And that he, listen, I think it's happening. I think that they're not even like really hiding it. Like the fact that Nick and Masai both mentioned Chris Boucher in their interviews and they're so open about it makes me think that he is a part of our future for sure. And then, like I said, I get up this morning, I look at Instagram, and Chris is in Toronto in his apartment saying, "Go Leafs, go." And just being a Toronto man right now, it's really awesome. Click saying, is there a way to get O'Shea Brissette back? That's an interesting idea. I mean, I don't mind that. Like, he'd be a little boomerang where we threw him to Indiana Pacers for a little bit. He had a huge jump in his development. He became a consistent starter for them. And, also he is kind of a center, that he does have that kind of size in some ways. Now, would he be any better trying to physical Joel Embiid, just like Precious or Thad or, Siakam or OG? I don't know. He may be very similar as far as that kind of same kind of size and stuff like that. But once again, listen, he's a Canadian. His last name starts with B. Put him on the team with Banton, Boucher, Birch, and Brissette. I love all those Canadian B players, and I'm always happy to have more Canadian content. So, yeah, if Brissette can come back in some sort of way. He's on good standing with us. He was actually mentioned in the press conference this week. I think it was by either Nick Nurse. I think it was Nick Nurse that mentioned him. saying that look at how he developed. He didn't develop here, and then we let him go, and then boom, he had a good development there. It just comes in spurts, and everybody has different schedules for how they develop as an NBA player. It's like it doesn't all happen like right away. Like some players, boom, right off the ground running. But some players, they don't see a huge gain until like a year or two into their career or something like that. So let's see. Banana Bread Tan saying, yeah, Malachi can definitely be Fred VanVleet 2.0. He just needed a different perspective. I hope he's able to capitalize on the opportunity he has. Yeah, listen, in his opportunities, they come fleeting here and there, Van Vleeting here and there. That, it really has a lot to do with Fred eating up those small guard minutes. And that in some ways, the writing's on the wall for both of them in some ways that we may need less and less small guard minutes going forward because of positionless schemes and stuff like that. And that may squeeze it even tougher and make it harder for Malachi to get more or get enough opportunities to really show what he's doing and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's tough. I don't really see it in some ways. Unless he has some crazy like training camp or a summer this summer where he comes back and he's just undeniably a rotation player and he has to play every single game. Then I could see that jump. But otherwise, it's like he's in trouble. He's really got to get his spots, and when he gets the opportunity, he has to make the best of it. He can't have any of these deadwood appearances where he comes out and he's just like missing his shots, and he's pretty good on defense, but that's all he's doing. We can't have that anymore. We need two-way players. That means they got to be able to score. And that was really what Masai, once again, he's saying, we really value two-way players. So every single player on the team needs to be trying to work on whichever end of the floor they're not as good at. Whether they're really good defensively and they need to work on their offense, or they're really good defensively, or they're really good offensively and they need to work better on their defense and stuff like that. But I don't honestly, I want good things from Malachi, and I think he could be Fred VanVleet 2.0, but I don't think it's going to happen, y'all. I think that he came at the wrong time with his career. He just has really bad timing in some ways, and that things are evolving, and that our team is going to be like kind of on the forefront of that evolution. And that, I don't know. It's really up in the air. I hope that he can do something, improve something, but I think the chances are even worse for next year than they were this year coming up. So G saying not reading too much into it, but Montrezl Harrell did have a Raptors logo done for him for something he was involved in. But yeah, Charlotte being his hometown will make it tough. Well, listen, it's really the money. It's like what his decision is. Like, I don't think he's played all over. It might have been nice to make a little pit stop with the Hornets for the end of the season, but it could be that he's like, I want to go win a championship with Toronto and take this money and come up here and stuff like that. We don't know exactly what he's thinking because he's actually played all over the league in some ways. And, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they having the Raptors logo on this stuff. We keep seeing, we see John Wall wearing a Raptors thing sometimes, and people freak out and they're like, oh, John Wall's coming to the Raptors, different things like that all the time. So I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into other players from other teams wearing our apparel sometimes, but it could be. It may mean that listen, that may be a signal. And that may be like, hey, I'm kind of cool with playing for the Raptors. And that's why I'm wearing this Raptor sweater or something like that right now. Banana Bread Tan saying maybe you can do a stream where you screenshot and discuss free agents we could add. Maybe we can go by position or philosophy. I love this idea, Banana Bread Tan. Yes, when I have a little bit more time to really look in depth and see who the free agent list is and go through this all. Yes, this is a perfect idea, Banana Bread Tan. And we'll look for it, and we'll do this on a Thursday. Maybe I'll even get it ready for next Thursday. We'll do a free agency look over, just early one or something like that. You guys are calling the shots in some ways as a coach. You call the plays and I'll try and execute them on here. If that's what you want for content, we'll do it. That's how I'm looking at this summer, guys. If you want to try and do something you have a topic or you have anything you want to do, this is you and I both working together to make this content good. So I like this idea, and maybe we'll do it next Thursday. Banana Bread Tan. I like it. Click 2 AM saying Thad can help Precious and OG with playmaking in the post. Yeah. He's really good at seeing the guys, those cut passes to Chris Boucher. Just fantastic in the playoffs. Really fun stuff. Okay, let's see. Click 2 AM saying Robert Covington. That's a pretty good shooter. That's a pretty good, like all around kind of guard. Maybe somebody that would be good off our bench as far as a guard, scorer, shooter. The kind of role that we're looking at. Yeah. DeLon Wright, fantastic fit for this kind of thing. He did a really good job for Atlanta this season as far as being that off the bench guard kind of thing. And he kind of, he knows our team real well, being a rookie drafted by us and playing his first couple seasons for the Raptors. He's best friends with OG Anunoby. He's very close with Fred and Pascal also. So DeLon would be a great, like, we have these boomerangs. You guys keep talking about, like, O'Shea Brissette, DeLon Wright, Yaka Pirtle. If we could boomerang guys out, let them play for a little while, and then they come back to us with a little bit more skill, a little bit more time, a little bit more vet, a little bit more, growth in their games, and then they come back. I love the DeLon Wright idea because, one of the things he did in the playoffs this year for Atlanta against Miami was he stepped up big off the bench and was really helping them when Trae Young was getting shut down. Like, Miami did a really good job stopping Trae Young in the first round. And DeLon Wright came out there and he would have huge games off the bench, helping Atlanta at least try and keep up with the Heat. So I really like the DeLon Wright idea. Robert Covington's kind of, he's really not a sexy like pickup. He's really kind of like boring. It's like, but he would probably be consistent and he would probably do the job fine. It's just he wouldn't be that flashy or maybe that exciting. Let's just put it that way. It's just like, yeah, okay, Robert's out there just hitting his shots and stuff like that. But I really like the DeLon Wright. And the other thing about DeLon that's kind of cool is that he's very close to our positionless scheme. Like, if he's out there running a point for us, he can fit in like Gary Trent does with the positionless scheme because he's about 6'5", 6'6", and he's got pretty good length and good defensive like skills for his position. So yeah, I love the DeLon Wright idea. And he could provide that kind of scoring off the bench that we're talking about. So really interesting idea, Click, as far as DeLon. And Banana Bread's agreeing, likes both the suggestions. Click's saying also, search up 2022 NBA free agents. There's a list of them. All right, I'll do that right now. Why not? Let's see that right now. 2022 free agents. All right, NBA. All right, boom. All right, we got John Wall. Oh, my gosh. This is interesting. We got John Wall. Nowhere near John Wall. We don't want anywhere near. Okay, these are the really big names at the top. John Wall, yeah, don't want him. James Harden, nope. Westbrook, nope. Bradley Beal, nope. Kyrie, nope. All right, so we take those five big names off the top right away. Gary Harris, shooting guard from Orlando, that's too much money. I wouldn't pay him that much for that. Zach LaVine is probably not going anywhere. He's got bird rights. But he is unrestricted free agent. Joe Ingles is very intriguing to me because he is a great scorer off the bench. Taurean Prince, he did a really good job for Minnesota this year. Let's see, T.J. Warren. Oh yeah, there's an interesting list here. Even somebody like Patty Mills, guys. What if we got Patty Mills? What if we had Patty Mills? And I know he's another small guard, but he's the kind of scorer that you can get. He's a great three-point shooter. He may have been the guy that could have been really good as far as like that kind of stuff. Okay, Mo Bamba is on this list, y'all. Holy crap. He is a restricted free agent, though. All right, I'm bookmarking this, and we're going to look at this some more, too. But, yeah, good call out, Click. I just got a good list there. All right, let's see. Banana Bread 10 saying we could definitely use a center, but we definitely want to develop them. It is not so necessary that we give up any of our extremely valuable and skilled 6'9" guys. Yeah. Like Masai said, if he could have 12 or 15 Precious Achuas, then he would. And that's why it's like, listen, even though we were kind of talking about the idea of Precious being a trading chip because he may be the extra more than we have that we don't need, I'm like, no, because honestly, this is what Masai's saying. That means he's wanting to keep Precious for sure. And that all these guys that fit this mold are not tradable in some ways, even though it seems like we have a glut of them, an extra supply, and that we can afford to trade somebody out. Well, maybe that's the whole idea of our team is supposed to be built like that and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. as far as like what he said, as far as Precious. And then also people keep saying he didn't say anything about Gary. Well, that maybe that means that he wants somebody taller or something like that. I don't know. Raymond saying, yes, we need a big man, Lex. Rap struggled hard against a healthy Embiid. Yeah, we did and we didn't. Because honestly, listen, there's a lot of teams with centers in this league this year, and they played centers against him, and he killed them. He absolutely killed them anyway. It's like you can get a center that can match him eye to eye, but he's still so much better than him. He just burns them and kills them anyway. And I like to look at our stats against Embiid compared to other teams. Like, how did what was his scoring average against all the other teams in the league other than us? What was his rebounding and all that stuff? I think we kept him lower than the average team in the league. And in that way, maybe we should look at that as a success. Is that, it's not necessarily completely stopping him or being able to stop him from being dominant, because that's just a given that Embiid's going to be a certain level of dominant no matter what. And then it may be really who's having the best job containing him. And that maybe we're still like one of the top teams as far as that, containing him and stymieing him and forcing him not to get good shots, because you may be averaging 30 to 35 points against other teams in the league. Meanwhile, he's averaging like 20 to 25 against us. And I'm all for that. Like, that may be where we need to gauge the success against big players like Embiid and Jokic. Is like, how do they do against the rest of the league and how do they do against us? And maybe we are doing really well with what we got and stuff like that. Because these guys are dominant. They're going to dominate to a certain degree. But if you can temper that and kind of not have them dominant to the same level that they're dominating against Detroit or Boston or something like that, that's better. That's the way I look at it. Click 2M saying, rather have a shooter, easier to transfer to NBA. Yeah, I'm with the shooting stuff. I think that is our biggest glaring problem is the shooting. It's not necessarily the rim protection. We can have a gang up front that kind of just does it all together. But the shooting is absolutely essential for us to improve next year. That we lost so much good offense that we could have had this year just from missing empty shots, just from not having quality scorers off the bench. And that is the hugest priority for us this summer. I really do believe this. What's up? Post Talk, Sports Chat. Yo, what's up? And Evelyn, good morning. I hope Evelyn's back in the 416, back from her trip safe. Maybe not. Maybe still out on the West Coast, chilling West Coast vibes. G saying, Masai kept talking about global. He may have his eyes on some international gems. Yeah, he was doing the update about his building the basketball courts over in Africa and stuff like that. He's saying how many he's got down now and stuff like that. This is going to be such an interesting development. If there's more people that are having access to starting to play the game of basketball in Africa, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have all these great players, like how Canada has been funneling a pipeline, more and more great quality NBA players from our country. There's more coming from the continent of Africa, that this is going to be badass. And we know that our guy, Masai Ujiri, is number one and knowing who's there and keeping a pulse on who's coming up from that area and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm really interested about all that. And I really love that he mentioned the WNBA this week. And I really hope that this just happens as soon as possible, because I want to watch basketball in the summer for a Toronto team and get really into WNBA basketball and watching them play during the summer when I'm like bored. I get in the middle of the summer and I'm just like, oh, and some of this, content on this stream channel will be about WNBA Raptors. And I love that so much. It'd be so good. Click 2AM saying, if we aren't willing to spend money like we have the last 2 seasons, then we will pay the consequences. Masai is always sourcing talent from giants of Africa. Yeah, we need to spend to win. If there's something I learned from that Winning Time cartoon series on HBO, watching it yesterday, is that Dr. Jerry Buss said money's no object, and you go get Spencer Haywood. You go get whoever the fuck you want, Jerry West. You can get them. You're allowed to, because I have money and I'm just going to throw it at winning, because we have to win. And that's all that matters. And I really feel like Larry Tannenbaum is like that right now with the Raptors. That, listen, it won't work if Masai and Nick Nurse and the players are saying, we want to win championships, if the owner of the team is being cheap. If the owner of the team is being like, no, we want to, no, then that's not what's happening. And I'm really glad that Larry Tannenbaum is a smart man that can see the investment in winning championships. In fact, the 2019 championship may have opened the door to his eyes even more so, that he could see the level of prestige and economics and things that it generates. And that he got a taste of it and he wants it again. It's kind of like the players got a taste of it and they want it again, but he wants it for a different reason because he knows that it pushes the value of the team way up, way up, and it's really, really smart. So, yeah, I'm excited about the ability to maybe spend some money and actually not be afraid to spend money because the Raptors have never been that kind of team. They've always stayed under the cap. They've always tried to not pay any luxury taxes or anything like that as much as possible. They have at times, like the championship year, but that's the thing. They got to be ready to do that again if it's going to get them over the hump to actually a promised land of another Larry O'Brien. All right, let's see. Susan Harold does have aggression and is good. Is good to put energy into the game, but sometimes I find his energy really negative, and I don't believe he would be a good fit for us. I think he could be toxic. Yeah, I have these concerns also that it is a real red flag when listen, I thought he was one of the best players on the Clippers a couple years ago, and then Kawhi came in there and he met him, and he's like, I don't want this guy on my team, and GM Kawhi sent him away. Is basically what happened there. And then wasn't he on the Lakers with LeBron also? And that was not a total fit either. It could be that maybe Montrez is a really like hard worker and he hated those guys for being slackers. And that may have been the pow, 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 pow. And then the whole thing that happened with Washington this year on the team, there was some conflict there too, that he wasn't fitting in with the Wizards. And that was part of the reason why they had to ship him to Charlotte and stuff. So I would have these concerns that Sue has also. And to a degree, like I said, his range is so limited from has to be close to the basket. And then the other thing is he's kind of duplicitous. That in some ways we have a similar player to him already, Precious, and some of these other guys, and they're way more talented and they have way more upside than him. But I do kind of like the idea of what they were saying earlier with the comment about him mentoring them with toughness and just kind of setting a tone and stuff like that. So he's not really a center, so he wouldn't fix our center problem, and he definitely wouldn't fit any of our shooter problems. But he would be kind of like an interesting role player to be on there. But I would worry about what Sue's worrying about too, that he could be his character could kind of mess up our good vibes here in Toronto in some ways. Lolita's here. Good to see Lolita. Next season is going to be exciting. I can't wait to see the potential of our boys come to fruition. Go Raptors. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like this season was very fun already. I think the next season could be even more fun because listen, some of the stumbling blocks and some of the problems we had this past season, hopefully they won't be there this season coming up. Like hopefully there's no serious injury periods for any of their main players. Hopefully the pandemic is pretty much like pretty safe as possible and that COVID and contact tracing isn't doing anything weird at some period during the year. And then also there's no problems with our home court and being able to come in and play and have a regular like feeling in the building with the fans in there all season long and stuff like that. All that consistent for the whole season because they played through all kinds of inconsistency last year. Still, even though they weren't in Tampa and all this kind of stuff, it was very inconsistent kind of like settings around them. Not that they played inconsistent. It's just everything was chaos for them. So I like to think that if things are more normal throughout the whole season, as far as injuries, as far as the things I just named, then they are set up to have an even better season. Like they were 48 wins this year. And honestly, they could have gotten to 50 if a couple of things had just gone their way and hadn't gone all fucked up in certain close games. And it could have easily been a 50-win season. But, I really think we will for sure get 50 wins next season, if not get close to 60. And that's what we should expect for next year, especially if we get out the gate running and everybody is all healthy and they're really feeling like more gelled. Because that was part of the problem too last season is the first half of the season was really orientation. It's like you just showed up at college and you're learning the campus and you're learning where your classes are and you're learning how college life is. Well, that was basically the first half of our season last year for a lot of people on our team. and stuff like that. So if they already know and you're coming back in, they're already ahead of the game, more so than they were last year. Specifically, Scotty, Delano, Justin, David Johnson, even Precious, those kind of guys, even Malachi. Click saying, if there's anything Fred needs to do this summer, his top priority should be finding a routine or plan of treatment that can keep him healthy. Getting a backup point guard would help with his knee, though. Yeah. I mean, listen, and I'm glad they said this week. Nick Nurse said, yeah, the plan is to maybe not have Fred so worn down by the end of the season like this happened this year. That they really don't intend for this to happen. And maybe it's a gamble, because with Pascal, it worked out. There were no problems with overworking Pascal this season. He looked really good right up until the end against Philly. But Fred, he broke down at a certain point and really was, hurting his knee. And that's the risks of playing the NBA. Like some seasons, Kyle and DeMar were broke down at the end of the year, and it really hurt our playoff chances. So it's really, I hope that they do this. Like I know Nick said this. It's like he wants to look at getting Fred's minutes down for this season coming up. Like not having him be like the leader in the NBA in minutes, like Sue was talking about at the beginning of the season last year. Well, Fred's playing way too many minutes. And I was like, you sure? Sue, and she's like, yeah, look at this. And I'm like, oh, crap, Sue's right. She's exactly right that Fred is playing too many minutes and that they need to think about this from the start. And that maybe it's just like you get him down to like 30 minutes right around there instead of him coming close to 40 all the time. That he could be very, very good in those kind of doses. And maybe on the long run, he's not so worn down and stuff like that. I don't know if he's actually getting surgery on the knee. It doesn't sound like he's actually going to go under the knife and get it done. It's just that he's got to let it heal and get it fixed. So that's actually good in a way that he's not going to need surgery because it's structural. Because I really thought the way he was hurt and the way he was laboring at the end of the season, that it was going to be a surgery that he was going to need to get as soon as the season ended. And well, he hasn't gone to go get a surgery right now. So I think that it may be something that he can just rehab and try and take care of and get better over the summer and stuff like that. So hopefully he does need to rest it for a little bit, but also he's still working out and staying in game shape, he's saying also at the same time. And that must be a hard balance, is to try and rest the knee and let it heal and get like 100% better, but then also staying in complete game shape, like not like laying around getting extra pounds or anything like that, staying in good shape. The backup point guard is supposed to be Malachi, and as for now, it's still him. But with Armani here too under contract, also, I don't think this is a need that we need though, because I think that these guys will fill in the small point guard backups for him just in case. And then obviously we've got these big guys that are ready to be point guards. And it's kind of funny watching Winning Time yesterday in the arguments between playing Magic Johnson at point guard. What Jerry West was like, no, you can't play a 6'9" at point guard. And he said the reason why was because the ball has to go further between his hand and the court, and there's more easy to steal. I was like, oh my gosh, Jerry West, you're crazy, man. Because like big point guards are really awesome and great. And Magic proved it after that. But that was the whole the mess up between him and Norm Nixon. Because Norm Nixon was a classical point guard, and Magic came in and stole his job as a 6'9" point guard. And that's what I'm saying. This could be a very similar thing like with Scotty Barnes coming in and being like our 6'9" point guard all of a sudden. And Fred's like a shooting guard for us in the starting lineup all of a sudden. That kind of thing. And it could be that Gary just slots down to small forward. And, we still have the same lineup. It's just that they're playing in different kind of roles in it, and that Scotty is actually our point guard at some point. I think that's more likely to happen than us investing in a backup point guard, is that we have enough of these ball handlers on the team. Raymond Jacobs saying, I think only keep Flynn if he can grow to 6'9" and learn to play all 5 positions. We don't need 2 short guys on the court. Kyle and Fred made me cringe. Yes, they made me cringe so much, but it worked. Because of some weird synergy and understanding and trust between Kyle and Fred, it really worked. And there was no problem. But that was a special case. And I don't know if we can recreate it with Fred and Malachi in the same kind of way. I know they're really trying to, but I just don't see it. It's almost like, listen, Fred had already arrived to a certain level and where it could be happening. And Kyle was just a very super special player all around that really could make that happen. And I don't know if Fred is that super special kind of player like Kyle to do it from that point of it. And then Malachi is nowhere near the level Fred was at as far as consistency for it to work with when Fred was doing it with Kyle. So I don't know if this is a viable thing. I don't want this 2 point guard lineup out there at any time. And it was much better when he just switched them in and out for each other instead of letting them play together, because it's a real detriment and weakness for our team. It doesn't give us enough bonuses. So I don't want to see it at all this year. I do never want to see Fred and Malachi on the court together. We've done it in the past, and I've always hated it. I'm with Raymond. And like, listen, I'm the same way with this. Like Malachi's in some ways, like I said, he's not someone that I value for the future. It's like, look, you're getting some time in the NBA and stuff. Maybe you'll go to another NBA team and find your place somewhere else. But I don't think it's with the Raptors in some ways. And that's sad but true. Even though Masai likes you and he wants you to be that guy, I don't think it's going to happen. And it's not that I'm being pessimistic or anything. It's just I don't see the signs of it. I just don't see how it will happen this way. He has to become some crazy ass big shot baller guy who wins games with 3-pointers, and maybe he bombs like 4 or 5 threes, and all of a sudden he's got 20 points or something like that. Then I'll be like, yeah, he's good. Let's keep him. But he hasn't shown that. He hasn't shown that at all enough in any kind of way. So, all right, let's see. Click saying Montrezl doesn't shoot, but Kem doesn't either. I'd rather have Montrezl than Kem. That's not totally true, though. It's not that Montrezl the thing about it, all right, I'll make the distinction here. Kem can shoot. He's just too nice. He's too humble. He's like he's in a contract year last year, and he's like, I want to set up my friends. I want to set up the team. He doesn't want to take shots himself, and that's really the problem because he's a good shooter. He's actually a 500 shooter. It's just that he doesn't shoot enough. Like he is so good with shooting. Like he actually has range out to the 3-point line. Like he can shoot that surge shot that used to be just inside the 3-point line at the top of the key and hit that regularly. It's just he's not doing it. I don't understand why he's not shooting enough. He's just not an aggressive guy. He's just really laid back and team oriented. And that's one of the things I want him to change. I want him to be more aggressive because I see the signs with him of being a really good scorer. Like he could average 15 points a game if he was trying to score in some ways because he's got a really nice touch. And like I said, I think he's better shooter than Harrell. Harrell has nothing from a certain range out. He just looks ugly, like it really, really ugly. He's a really close to the basket guy, whereas Kem actually does have range. Like he has a shot that looks good when it's set and it'll go in. It's just he's not aggressive enough. That's the one thing I want. I know you're saying you'd rather have Montrezl than Kem, but I'm not saying that. No, because Kem will play Joel Embiid better than Montrezl Harrell, because he has more weight and he has more experience and he did a good job in a lot of ways. So I don't agree with this one, Click to him. And they're different players, really, in a lot of ways. Montrezl really is a power forward, and Kem is kind of more of a center in some ways. Ghostly Jurassic, good to see a new name. I'm here every morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time talking Raptors for a little while. Maybe it'd be an hour, or maybe a little shorter, maybe a little longer. Who knows? Ghostly Jurassic saying, wish we would have kept Cameron Payne. Yes. This guy is doing some great things out west on the Suns, right? He was a really bubble kind of player, like a guy that we had to cut like right before the season started. And it really put a chip on his shoulder against us. He's kind of got that DJ Augustin kind of like chip on his shoulder against the Raptors in the same way. Like whenever he plays us now, he always tries to burn us. And you know what? You're exactly right. Like he's the kind of 3-point shooter off the bench that would have really helped us this year. Like, because he's a dead eye. He's the kind of guy that if he's open, he's going to make the three and he'll make the other team pay. And that's exactly the kind of thing we need. Good comment, Ghostly, coming in with the first one, bringing up campaign. And he would be a really good person as a role player off the bench for us if we had him again. Even though we don't like a lot of short, small guards, he would be that shooter that I would like more than Malachi, because I know that he would be way more consistent scoring than Malachi is right now. So, yeah, I like that suggestion. But once again, this guy's on a title run with the Suns. He's on his way up, and he's trying to win something right now, right? So he's on the Suns, right? Campaign. I'm pretty sure he's either on the Suns or he's on I want to say he's on the Suns or the Yeah, he's on the Suns. I was right. Okay. All right, let's see. Click to am saying we're not going to get fined for saying we tanked last season. Look at all the teams at the bottom of the standings. It's pretty obvious they tanked. We're not getting fined. Yeah, it was other teams kind of calling for it because Masai said that this week, and it's just for me, it's just not a good look. Like I just don't like our team president saying the word tank. Like I don't want him that to be in his even in his vocabulary. It's like even like the fact that he would think about doing it and stuff like that. Steve Ed saying Victor Oladipo, man, wouldn't that be a dream if we could get Victor Oladipo on our team somehow, some way? Um, he is just such a good luxury for the Miami Heat as far as things like that. Paul B says, I'd love Patty Mills. Yeah, Patty Mills would be badass. We just need players who will put up points, is what Paul's saying. I agree. That's what I'm saying. We just need a baller mentality. We need a guy who's hungry, a guy that's confident, a guy that's consistent, people that aren't trying to play for their NBA lives and that they're worried about it, like because it's all on the line. People that are established in the NBA, the people that have played a couple years, people that know how to get baskets no matter what. That's the kind of bench players we need to get this summer. Is those kind of guys that can hoop, guys that can put it in the hole, and that's no question they will and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why I like Patty Mills is because he was such a good, consistent 3-point shooter for the most part and stuff like that. And he's a good character leader and stuff like that. He's the kind of guy that I like for a new bench guy. Criscom's saying, good to see Criscom, by the way. Guaranteed second round advancement next year. It's great having Masai as our guy. Looking forward to everyone making a jump and an athletic man. I'll take Dewan Hernandez back or Mo Bamba. Wow, yeah, Hernandez. Somebody I felt like we gave up on too early too. Also, him and O'Shea Brissette were on the team at the same time, and they were kind of similar to me and stuff. But Brissette was a little bit ahead of Hernandez. But Hernandez, then he's gone to what? He's on the Knicks G League team this year, and he did a pretty good job for them on the G League team there. The couple times I saw him. But if you're saying him or Mo Bamba, I gotta say Mo Bamba. Like Mo Bamba's more ready. He's more established. I think he would actually be the exact center that we need. We pinpointed this because of his mobility and his height with it and stuff like that. And I think Mo Bamba would be a dream candidate if we could get somehow, some way in a Raptors jersey for next season. But yeah, Hernandez might be good too. I mean, once again, he'd be another boomerang. Somebody we drafted. He's a Raptor draft pick. So threw him away for a bit, and then he comes back to us a little bit better and stuff like that. And I like what you're saying that you guarantee we'll get the second round next year. I believe this too. I think that we would have got there this year already. And that, the way that they said, Charles and Shaq saying that we wouldn't get past the first round over and over again each year, they're fucking wrong. They are so wrong. If we end up in the top 4 teams next year and we have home court advantage in the first round, we're going to win the first round. That's what I'm going to say right now. For sure. Click to him saying Patty Mills is a no-show in the playoffs. He's always great at the start of the season, but look at the pattern throughout his career at the end of the seasons. He doesn't shoot the same. That's okay. That's a good point to make out. He is a little older at this point. And that this has been a pattern throughout his career as far as when he was at the Spurs and then now his time with the Nets. Okay, that's interesting to know. I know that he didn't show up for Kevin and Kyrie in that first round against Boston. That's for sure, because he definitely didn't help them there. So that's a good point to make about it all. It may be more like I'm saying this is the kind of leadership or this kind of person, but maybe he's not exactly the right one. Click saying Oladipo is 30 years old. I would like a younger piece. Yeah, I agree with that too. And also Oladipo is going to demand the ball too much. I think on Miami, he could fit in there with the egos and not the egos, with the vets and the people like Jimmy and Kyle and take a back seat to them. But if he came to Toronto, he may have a harder time taking a back seat to some of our players that may be playing ahead of him. And that it may be harder for him because he may see the team not as like respectfully because he's older. And then, you have other guys younger than him that may be more important to us in some ways. And he may not want to take that back seat. I don't really think Oladipo is the kind of person we want. Oladipo is the kind of person that maybe needs to go to like Sacramento and be the man on that team, like the man, like he's the main scorer guy, an important guy. Click 2AM saying, when teams played zone against us this season, it really showed our lack of shooting and offense. Yeah, we needed the zone buster, Thad Young, out there at times to bust it. And yeah, it was really bad. That was like our kryptonite in some ways, was when zone got put on us in different ways. It was really effective in ways that I didn't like to see. And that maybe this is specifically something that the coaches scheme about or figure out how to deal with better for next year. That the zone was a real kryptonite towards us. And we need to be better about being able to bust the zone and stuff like that. And maybe partly the vets. We didn't have enough vets on our team that really understand how to bust an NBA zone. And that the young players, it's different than a college zone. It's a much more talented kind of speedier, bigger zone in the NBA. And that some of our young guys just didn't know how to beat it completely. But maybe that's something that we teach them more this summer, that the coaches specifically run drills and different practice things to help them learn how to play better against the zone offensively. And I think one of the things that'll really help us beat the zone is the whole thing I'm crying out about, getting our assists up. Is that if we just pass the ball way better, trying to beat the zone, we'll do better. It's the ISO ball and the letting the ball stand with one person too much is really killing us in the zone. That is the combo right there. It's like if we're trying to ISO off of just Pascal and they're playing a zone, is killing us. So we need to start passing the ball around more, and that may help us with our problems with the zone this past season. More is just passing more and stuff like that. Click saying, more specifically, I don't want just a catch and shoot player though. I want a shooter who can take it off the dribble as well. Catch and shoot is great, but they're limited in some ways. And also we have that in some ways already on our team. Like if Fred becomes that role, then yeah, I agree. You need somebody who can catch and shoot and slash and do the other things down low. And so maybe even be post a little bit and stuff like that. Who knows? Bryn Forbes is a great piece. Okay, that's a Spur. That he's a kind of scorer kind of guy. I think he's in fourth or fifth year at this point, something like that. Maybe he's right around the right place. Paul B saying, how about JaVale McGee? Wow. Yeah, he's not somebody I've ever wanted on my team for different reasons. Like earlier on, he was more because he was a knucklehead and he was really kind of dummy and made a lot of mistakes on Shaq the Fool and stuff. But now he's kind of become more of a vet because he's been in the league for so long and he has rings like crazy. He has a couple rings. And, he's on, what is he on Phoenix this year? He's playing right now on Phoenix and stuff. Listen, he's intriguing, but to me, he's not the kind of complete player that we want. Like there's some holes in his game that don't really fit with different things, but his mobility is really good for a center. That's one thing I would say and stuff like that. That's an interesting one, Paul. That would really have to have like Masai and Bobby's seal of approval on it, though, I would think. Lolita is saying 60 wins. I like that, Alex. Thank you for continuing your live chat. Totally enjoyable and always looking forward to it. Awesome, Lolita. Yeah, every single day I'm committed to it. This is just where I'm going to be, 9:30 in the morning. Every single morning I'll be here. And yeah, why not? We've been so close to flirting with 60 wins at different times in our history. We've gotten real close. In a couple of these years, why not go for that benchmark? Why not try and get the 60 wins this upcoming season? Why not? Paul B saying Lou Williams is a free agent. Okay, he's on that list. Yeah, but you guys have also been telling me that he might be retiring this summer, that he's finally done, and that could be it. But who knows? We'll see. Click saying, well, if he's not shooting and he can, then he's a liability for us. I don't think he's comfortable shooting. I'm not sure who you're talking about as far as Click. Could be moved. We moved on from somewhere. Let me see. Who you're talking about? Bryn Forbes or no? McGee. You're talking about McGee, probably. Yeah, he's not shooter. He's not. He's a very one-dimensional player, JaVale McGee. He's good for blocking shots and up close to the rim, but otherwise he's not that good as far as in any kind of other way. He's not even that good of a rebounder for his height, which is crazy. Let's see. Paul B saying Carmelo or Rondo. If I had to choose one of those two players, I want Rondo. I mean, Carmelo's great, but he's high volume. He's not totally efficient. And Rondo is like a good, solid playmaker, and he can do different things like that. But neither one of them, they're too old. Come on. Tom Duke saying Masai called tanking winning because of getting Scotty. Yeah, he said, yeah, the Tampa season, we won that season because we got Scotty. Yeah, it was so awesome. He had a couple of boss comments. Like whether it's the Lakers dream, I dream, they can dream, I dream. And then the whole thing about we won the Tampa year because we got Scotty. Yes, Masai, you are a G. You are a badass. Rahul saying, I personally don't like Cameron Payne. I personally don't like him either, Rahul. I don't like him partly because we cut him and he's tried to kill us ever since. And he has had some success having big games against the Raptors since we cut him. So, and I don't like the guy either. He's kind of like got an added or an air to him that's kind of like, I don't really necessarily want him. But he is the kind of player that would really help us. Like if we could get that kind of score off the bench, a really good shooter, because that's one thing's undeniable about him. He's a good shooter, and that's what we need. We need more shooters. Banana Bread 10 saying, yo, people love our players. They're lusting. We love our players. This is what we're saying. We just want to add on to what we've already got. And yes, maybe we got to get rid of a couple of guys that it's going to be sad and stuff like that, but we need to upgrade because we're all about winning Larry O'Brien's and getting to the next winning time. And that's what we need is to upgrade our bench because our core guys are solid. Our core is what we're doing. That's what they said this week. Messiah said, we're doubling down on our guys. Don't expect us to make any free agency, big moves, and don't expect us to make any big trades or anything because we like our core and this is where we're building from. And this is the plan. So Banana Bread Tan saying some Laker fan posted a trade proposal that sent us. I've heard these trade proposals recently. Like they're very funny. They're really trying to unload Anthony Davis. It's really funny. All right, let me see. Some Laker fan posted a trade proposal that sent us Anthony Davis and Lou Dort from OKC for OG, Precious, and Trent to LA and our 2024 first and Horton Tucker to OKC. Wow. So we would get Davis and Dort. I like Dort. We've talked about Dort. I'm okay with Dort, but I'm not okay with Davis. Davis is an albatross as far as his contract and just like being so hurt all the time and stuff like that. He'd just be a real annoyance, like honestly, Anthony Davis at this point. I hate this trade. I hate this trade all around because we lose so much by giving up OG, Precious, and Trent. No way. Like OG and Precious already, first of all, I'll tell you, they're not trading them anywhere. OG and Precious. They may trade Gary Trent, but I don't see them trading OG or Precious because Masai tipped his hat this week, and these are specifically guys that fit his vision for this team, and he wants to add more of them and not take them away. It's interesting. Came to light that the Lakers wanted Kyle Lowry, and they would have gotten Kyle Lowry if they just traded us THT back to us. That's what I'm hearing recently, that like the deal was almost done, but the Lakers wouldn't give up THT to us. And now that looks really stupid that they didn't make that deal and trading THT to us. But yeah, no Davis, Dort's fine. And yeah, we're not giving that much up for just getting Davis and Dort. That's not good. Paul B. saying, with Mo Bamba being a restricted free agent, do Orlando have a reason not to pay him? Well, it may be who's on their team and who's part of their plans and stuff like that. I think that they may probably match whatever offer gets sent to him. And that's part of the restricted free agency that will hurt us as far as if that's the person we're going to try and get. I could see Bobby sending an offer to Mo Bamba and saying, hey, we'll pay you this much here in Toronto. And then Orlando looking at it and maybe putting a little bit more money on top of it, or matching it just like that. So I don't know how realistic Mo Bamba is, but it really has to do with Orlando and what their plans are, whether they want to stay really young, because like Mo Bamba's kind of getting into the middle of his career, and he's not necessarily the same kind of like core as like Suggs and Franz Wagner and Cole Anthony and the younger players and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's really like we'd have to ask Orlando Magic's fan nation how they feel about Mo Bamba and his chances of sticking with their team this summer. But if we can lure him somehow, some way, that'd be fantastic. That'd be badass. But it's not totally up to Bamba. It's like if we send him a contract and Orlando still values him and wants him, they can match it, and then there's nothing we can do that Orlando keeps him for sure. Banana Bread 10 saying Laugh out loud. Sure, let's conveniently give up two of our guys who would be top 5 defensive players for sweatpants. Yeah. Yeah, it's like OG and Precious are in really Gary. They're all two-way players, and they're all like, two of them can guard all 5 positions. So yeah, there's no value in this trade at all. You're going to get a half rental of Anthony Davis and then a undersized guard who's a badass. But you lose so much with this. You lose so much with this. I love that you call them sweatpants. Banana Bread Tansen and our credible Grenadier. That's a great name for Gary Trent. Grenadier. Gary Trent Jr. What the fuck? So he can go be a grenadier for LeBron? No, fuck that. They want our team. They want our players. They want Steph Curry. They want Nick Nurse. They can dream. They can dream. We all have dreams. We all want things. We don't all get them. I'd love to win $10 million tomorrow, but that's a dream, man. It may not be feasible. It may not be, realistic. It's like, yeah, dream about Nick Nurse. Dream about Gary Trent Jr. LA. Go ahead. Dream all you want. Go ahead. Sue's saying, I guess that fan needs to keep dreaming. Yeah, this is dreams. This is dreamland out there. It's not la la land. It's la la land because they're in la la la. They're in asleep and they're dreaming. They're dreaming all kinds of different ways because they don't want to be awake. Because when they open their eyes, they see the dumpster fire that the LA Lakers franchise is right now. It's really, really funny and crazy. Paul B saying, do it. No, don't do that Lakers trade. No way. Dark Knight is here. Dark Knight is saying, next season, Embiid is coming for us. We need Mo Bamba. Well, Embiid is Embiid. We're going to have to deal with him either way. Maybe he'll think twice a little bit before he gets a little bit physical with us next season and stuff like that. I know some people are saying he's going to come back at us in some kind of ways, but maybe his old age and wisdom, he's like, I don't want to hurt anymore. I don't want to get into this kind of fracas with them. Can we just play a gentlemanly game? And I promise I won't swing my arms at you guys anymore. And then maybe you guys don't have to give me receipts. Kind of thing. Joel, do that. Just concentrate on your game and get all the thuggery out of it. And Nick said this week in his exit interview, he's like, he wants the NBA league office to really look at the way people are hitting out when they're offensive players and how they're smacking people in the head with their arms and their elbows and their hands and stuff like that, or poking them in the eye and stuff like that. And really come down hard on players that are egregiously being flagrant or dangerous with their lashing out with their offensive moves. And it's different. Like, I'm going to say this because Philly fan may think, well, what did Pascal do? Well, Pascal was moving with the ball, and that's perfectly legal. He should have a path. And that, you put your face in the way, then it might get hit. And it's not like he went up and hit him in the face. He was right there with him. And in some ways, he was trying to draw the foul in some ways and stuff like that. That's a basketball movement that Pascal was doing. But when you're hitting out like this, or you're like doing this with your elbow like that, that's not a basketball movement. That's actually a very dangerous move that can cause bodily harm. And Nick Nurse is saying, league office, start looking at this and start calling it, because too many people are missing games and people are getting hurt. And it's, we don't need these kind of tragedies. Mo Bamba standing up against Embiid, that'd be fun. I think it's a good idea to try and get Mo Bamba. He'd be ideal for us. But let's see how realistic it is as far as Orlando's plans for him and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting next year when we play Philadelphia. This obviously has got a little bit of a grudge match to it at this point. Nishani's here. Good to see Nishani. Do you think we'll get Jalen Harris back, the guy we drafted with Malachi? I know he was suspended from the NBA, but he could be reinstated. I think he's playing in Italy now. Yeah, we always talk about Jalen Harris. You guys really want him back. Well, listen, if his band's up from the NBA for the substance abuse and he's in our summer league, hey, that's badass. I love that idea of that coming in, maybe that redemption story. Maybe he finally got his act together and things are better in his life, and that now he's ready to come and be a pro and not have any of these issues and stuff like that. Hey, listen, I'm all about second chances, but I wouldn't hold our breath. That's what I've said consistently about this is like, look, he's gotten his chance. Other guys need to get their chances too. And sometimes all you get is one chance to get into the NBA. Sometimes there's no guarantee that you ever get another one. But who knows? He may end up on another team or something like that and blowing up. So maybe we do need to look at him again this summer and see where he's at and see if he is plausible to come in and be something that we need, which is an off-the-bench scorer and a guy who can hit the threes and stuff like that. The family is here. Good to see the family. Always happy to see. Ad is not worth a Gatorade. Oh, he's saying AD. Yeah, AD's not worth a Gatorade. Yeah, I agree with this. Like, honestly, it's so crazy how LeBron can bring the stock down of players. It's like you go and play with LeBron, you're worthless after a while. It's like he really did that to Anthony Davis. It's like he was so good for New Orleans. Like, what the hell? He was like a top 4 player. His stats were absolutely insane. He was getting stats all over the place. And then he goes to LA and his career's just gone. Sure, he won a championship, well, a bubble championship. But otherwise, everything else about his Laker tenure has just been awful and just been a disgrace in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I don't see how they're going to get rid of him. And Laker Nation's just trying every which way to try and figure out a way to pawn him off on different people and stuff like that right now. Dark Knight saying we also need a nice pickup in the draft. Yeah, 33rd pick. Let's see what they do. Let's see Masai work his magic and see what kind of gold he gets. He'll probably draft some name, and then all the analysts will be like, who is that? Where is that coming from? Pascal Siakam? Who is that? It'll be something like that, hopefully. It'll be like a 33rd pick, and it'll be a home run that nobody else will see. And Masai will be like, yeah, this is our dude because we found him. We looked all over the fucking world, and this is the dude. We know this is the dude. And boom, we have like gold all of a sudden again at 33. I trust in Masai, and I know him and Bobby Webster will get the best possible player that's available at 33. And it may be somebody that's not even on anybody else's radar, and he's gangbusters and badass like Pascal Siakam, something like that. Banana Bread 10 saying, laugh out loud. Yes, 10 million tomorrow. Yes, I would love 10 million tomorrow. I would dream about this. I would dream about, I don't know what else I would dream about. Like maybe having, I don't know. Dreams are dreams. I dream of another championship, but that's actually more a realistic dream than the Lakers' dreams right now for the Raptors as another championship than getting Nick Nurse for them. That is more likely to happen. Is we'll win a second championship in the next 2 years, then Nick Nurse goes to coach the LA Lakers. So keep dreaming, Laker Nation. All right, let's see. Click 2am saying it says something very good that our people in our organization are in high demand, but it's also disrespectful how they want everything we have because they can't develop their own shit. Pisses me off for real, man. I get it what you're saying, man. And listen, like we said, do they feel like our team is just a farm team that they can just pluck parts from when they need them or something like that? Yeah. I just love that our guys are really loyal and they understand. Like we have really smart people like Masai Ujiri and Nick Nurse that aren't all about the Benjamins. I'm sure that they could throw some crazy ass money at Nick Nurse in some way or something like that. But he would probably not take it because he would look at it from a very objective, smart view and say, well, look, I have a great situation here in Toronto and there's nothing guaranteed for me in LA. It could be absolute disaster. I could lose some of my hair because it's so stressful. It could be like, just a pain in the ass or all kinds of different ways. It could tarnish my career so far, which has looked very illustrious and very badass. And I go to the Lakers and then all of a sudden it's just a dumpster fire and I'm getting fired or mistreated by them for just stupid shit. Yeah, nobody wants that. That's part of the thing is I love how Masai talked about the culture that has been built here in Toronto, that there's a winning culture. There's an expect to win culture. There's a excellence culture. There's a culture of like really trusting in each other to do your jobs and staying in bounds on your job and not going over to the other job and telling them how to do their job and stuff like that. But also at the same time, there's a communication between the front office and the coach and how they're building the team so that it really has a plan. Because sometimes a GM will just get players and they'll say, you figure it out to the coach. Well, the coach is telling them kind of what their vision is. And then the GM is talking back and saying, well, this is what's realistic. And they're working together. They can actually work towards the goal together as a team, but not step on each other's toes. But there's a problem in a lot of teams where like the coach and the GM do not talk to each other or figure things out on the whole grand scheme of things. And that is real strength for the Raptors. Is that we've had a real idea of this positionless ball, this kind of basketball that we want to play right now, and that Nick Nurse is working within it, and that they're building the team with this scheme over the long term because we're seeing it. Like this is a plan that they started years ago by getting certain players like OG and Pascal, like way, way back. And now we're getting more of them and throwing them in together. This was very calculated. And in some ways, building your team this way with a real mission and direction and goals is really smart because other teams are half-assing. They're just making up ideas. Oh, maybe we should go get Harrell and just get him on our team. But they don't have any real rhyme or reason to how they're team building. They're just throwing a collection of guys together and seeing if they can play like a certain way and meld and be good together. And that's a part of the strength of the Raptors is they're working. Everybody's working in concert in unity together towards the same goal, and that's a huge strength. But yeah, the other stuff, forget about the other stuff. Let them dream. Let them be like disrespectful and stuff. Like they're going to be disrespectful anyway. Like honestly, they're going to be. And we just need to be badasses on our own and know that we're badasses as a franchise and organization, and everything's going to work out because of that. So, Banana Bread Tan saying, would you want to be in their shoes, the Lakers? No, no. Like, all right, I'm going to get back to it because I just watched it yesterday. Watching the whole Winning Time HBO series yesterday, I binge watched the first 9 episodes yesterday. It's really interesting, all the turmoil that went on in that series. Like, whether it's their head coach having the bike accident, whether it's like not even knowing who their coach was at different times during the season, that's absolutely insane how that happened with them and Paul Westhead and Jack McKinney and Jerry West just giving up the job right before the season and just stuff, the chaos of it and the way that they were able to steer through it all. That's what I'm saying. The Raptors don't have any of that kind of chaos. They have stability, and that means that we're already having an advantage in that kind of way and those kind of things. But no, I would want to be the Lakers right now. And it's very interesting to see Jeannie Buss's journey in the Lakers organization and this show also, like as being an intern and stuff like that. And now where she is now with the team as the team president, kind of like the person running the team in a lot of ways and stuff like that. But there's a lot of dysfunction there. And part of it is that the fan nation makes it dysfunctional. Part of it is that LA makes it dysfunctional, the flash and the dash and everything like that. It's just like with the Leafs. I feel like the Leafs at times have been dysfunctional because there's been too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too much prestige. There's too much history to the Toronto Maple Leafs that there's a lot of egos around the team. They're maybe partly owners, maybe they're partly people that are around the GM or stuff like that. And they want to put their fingerprint on the team and their influence on it. And it becomes an ego power trip of pulling and part of fighting. It could be like the GM's fighting with the coach, or it could be that the owners and they have a different idea about what they want compared to the GM. And there's just too many cooks in the kitchen. And they're all trying to steer the ship at once, and then you get nowhere. And I feel like that's part of the problem with the Lakers right now. And that these teams with a lot of prestige, whether it's the Knicks, the Leafs, the Celtics, the Lakers, they have such a history of prestige and so many egotistical people around them that they tug it in all kinds of different directions, and there's no real captain steering the ship. And once again, this is something where we have this really perfectly because Masai is the captain. And we know there's just one dude steering the ship for the most part on our team. And that's part of the problem with the Lakers right now is there's a power struggle between Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, and LeBron James. And even to an extent, people like Magic Johnson, they're just kind of around the team and everybody has an idea about how the Lakers could be fixed or how they could be better. And they're all kind of like not working together. They're all kind of working from their own egos and trying to force things. And LeBron's the biggest part of the problem. I'm going to tell you right now, LeBron is the biggest part of the problem for the Lakers. Click2am saying it's like they talk shit to us so much. They want everything we have. Like, go. Yeah, I'm not saying go SMD. I think I know what that means. I know what that stands for. Yeah, exactly. Like this is such a fucked up thing that people do to people in society or big companies and stuff like that. They poo-poo somebody. They say they're not that good, but in reality, they very much value them and they know they have a good thing. But by using psyops and telling them, oh, you're not that good or you're not that important, none of your players are superstars on your team is what they're saying to us right now. That and then they think they can turn around and fleece us for them. And they think that we value them in the same way that they value them in their eyes, whereas we value them from our own perspective and understanding how we should value them. But they're telling us how we should value them so that they can try and get them on the cheap or kind of try and fleece us or rob us of them in trades. Yeah, maybe when we had Rob Badcock as our GM, you could do that, but you can't do that now. These guys are they know you're bullshit, and they're not gonna allow you guys to get us with some dumbass trades like that Laker trade that was just mentioned on here. No, we're not going to do any of that kind of stuff. So I just love that we got to work on our own and just work on ourselves inside internally. This is like for anybody in their lives. Forget about what other people are doing. Forget about what other people are saying, the noise. Control what you can control. And that is what you do as a development, as a player, as a coach and your schemes, as the GM and the team president, as your vision. You control what you can control. Forget about all the other noise and stuff like that. Good things will happen. And that's the same for us in our own lives. Control what you can control in your everyday life and worry about yourself, and good things will happen. Because there's going to be noise around you. I mean, people say, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing a stream every morning at 9:30 in the morning? That's stupid. Why are you doing that? Because I want to. And this is what I want to do. So I'm controlling what I want to do, is that kind of thing, stuff like that. So that's the way I always look at it, like that. All right, let's see. Banana Bread 10 saying, and bitch is going to stop flopping against us. I hope so, because honestly, he just looks stupid at this point. I really do think he's hurting himself when he's falling on the floor and stuff like that. So I hope that it's right. Dark Knight, did you hear the slander on Jack Armstrong from the U.S. media? Some sad ass shit. Was it from the media or from the fans? I know Philly fans are coming hard after Jack Armstrong, saying all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's just ugliness. And I understand why they're mad at him, obviously, because they want to take out their anger about Joel Embiid getting hurt on the people that they want to blame, which are Pascal and Jack, even though Jack just said words and Pascal was just making an offensive play to go to the basket and stuff like that. But they're saying things like Pascal's the dirtiest player in the league. They're saying all kinds of crazy stuff. But were there actual media members, Dark Knight, saying something about Jack Armstrong? Because I don't think they would do that to their own person. And he did apologize, even though it was a couple days late. And Sixer fans says, well, you should have apologized the day after it happened, when we found out about the orbital bone being broken and stuff like that. He said, you should apologize then. He's like, what took you so long? Well, probably because Jack was on the beach and he was off social media and he didn't even realize that. That's what I was thinking. That's why it took a delay for him to apologize or something. But who knows? There's some people are saying there was a Sports Illustrated article about him. That may be what you're talking about, where they're slamming him about his call. Listen, he's not a unique person in this situation. There's been many, many, many announcers in all sports that have made very tacky calls like that in moments like that. I'll say that what Jack said was tacky in a way, but it was warranted also to a degree. It was tacky, but it was warranted in a way. Sue saying, I agree. I think Embiid will think twice. There was that one game that we were coming hard on him and put him on the floor and he backed off for a bit. I think he is weak-headed. I think Pascal now owns more space in Embiid's head. Yeah, I think that there's got to be more respect here with things and stuff like that. Obviously, we need to respect Embiid more because he's really like fleshed out his game and he's a lot more deadlier and a lot more dominant and a much bigger force in the league, even since 2019 when we beat him. And then they need to maybe respect our team for our physicalness, and that if you guys are going to fucking punk us, we're going to punk you guys back and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't know how much the lesson got through to him in sitting these 2 games against Miami, as far as like maybe you need to tone down your physicality because you can see that you can get bit by that shark also going back the other way. And maybe hopefully that's it. But hopefully I think that the league just needs to mandate that some of this extra contact needs to fucking go away. And that they need to start punishing people like they punished Harden and Trae Young this season for their offensive foul, throwing things out in the air like arms to try and get fouled. That they need to do the same kind of thing with the throwing out of arms near the basket. That may be dangerous too. Click saying, oh, I'm laughing my ass off at Philly fans. Listen, I feel for the Philly fans that come in here and talk to us and deal with us every day. Random Gamer, J.O., Blue City, different people like that. But yeah, I understand. Like, listen, they're going through a lot of anguish and pain, and that we're the target because they think we're the reason for why they're going to go through the anguish and pain. And maybe partly we are. But there was going to be somebody that was going to put them in that pain and anguish place before the end of this playoff. And it just happened to be us this year. And that it is what it is. I mean, they should be just as mad at Miami. They should be just as mad at Doc Rivers. They should be just as mad at Daryl Morey. They should be just as mad as James Harden. So it's people like that and stuff like that. So, But yeah, in some ways, listen, I'm kind of rooting for Philadelphia to a degree because I do want a good series. And if Kyle's not actually on the floor, I'm not really rooting for Miami. So it's kind of like I'm rooting against people. I want everybody to lose in the Eastern side right now, but that's not possible. So I'll go for Milwaukee and Miami for right now, at least. Banana Bread Tan saying, how does Precious's game need to develop for us to play him and gain an advantage on Embiid and Jokic? This is a great question. And I think it already did kind of develop like this a little bit in this first round matchup where we saw Precious taking Joel out from the post defensively and going right around him. Like basically his steps so much faster than Embiid that's a huge mismatch and that we should have been capitalizing on this more. We did use it a lot and we had huge success with it. But that's it right there. Banana Bread Tan is his ability off the dribble to go around and beat because he does not have the foot speed to keep up with them and just dunk it. Like that's there for him every single time he's matched up with Joel Embiid guarding him defensively. And same kind of thing with Jokic. And this could be something that we see way more of. This is a late development near the end of the season with Precious. It's almost like he was developing more and more each month and that we saw even more wrinkles to his game as the year went on. So just imagine him coming into training camp and he's kind of already on that platform of what he built up to last year and going into this season. So I want to see way more blow by drives to the basket and dunks when he is being guarded by the big man on the other team. Whether it's DeAndre Ayton, whether it's Gallant, or what the kid for Washington, whether it's one of the Cavs centers, whichever center is out there, if they can't keep up with Precious and he can go right around them and get to the basket, this is going to be a huge development for him in his scoring. And that's what I want to see more of. It's like just him off the dribble, going around the big guy on the other team. Because he can do that. He can do that more and more. Paul B's here. Jalen Harris replied to a Raptors fan tweet saying, miss you. And he replied, mutual. Well, this is a good sign. I like this. And you know what, Raptors Nation, reach out to him. Sure, reach out to whoever we want to talk. Like this is the other one this week. Oh my gosh, Kuzma. Did you guys see the Kuzma stuff? When Masai Ujiri said the quote to the Lakers, Kyle Kuzma got immense enjoyment from it. Kuzma, he went online. He said, Masai is savage. And then he had laughing, teary faces all in a row, emojis. And like all the Raptor fans jumped on it and said, come to Toronto, Kyle Kuzma. Like they want Kuzma on the Raptors. And Kuzma seemed like he may have been all about it and stuff like that. Because think about it. How tall is Kuzma? Kuzma's kind of in the right range of height. But then this guy's a great shooter. This guy is actually a really good scorer. That Kyle Kuzma could be a guy. Let me see if he's on this free agency list. Like, is Kuzma on the list? He may not be. He's probably under contract, and it's just not possible this summer. But he definitely tipped his hat about loving Masai Ujiri and him burning the Laker Nation with that dream comment. He loved that comment Kyle Kuzma did. So you can tell he really has animosity towards the Lakers for how he got dealt for Russell Westbrook to Washington and stuff like that. So really interesting. Click 2AM saying, if Flynn is a no-show by the trade deadline, trade him for a first-round pick. I like that. That's not a bad move at all. Brian, hey, write something else in there. Good to see you again, Brian. Just give me a new comment if you retract your comment. Yeah, I think that we need to put a clock on Malachi for this season. And really, like, he has got to take his golden ring and run with it as soon as it's presented to him. Malachi, you need to take every opportunity on the court to excel as badass as you can. And this summer, you need to put in so much work because you're really playing for your NBA future next season because you're on the last year of your rookie contract. And this is going to be such an important year for you to prove things about who you are on an NBA court. Dark Knight saying, hot take. We need to trade Van Vliet for Shea, Murray, Lou Dort, or another younger or bigger point guard. Not that it will happen, but who else do you think would fit at starting point guard for Raps? All right. Well, first of all, I'm always on the record for saying we don't trade any of our champions. Like anybody who has a ring right now from that 2019 year, we just can't trade them because they're so essential for like the plan to get back to Larry O'Brien. They're so essential for leadership at a championship kind of level. And, you know, even though those guys are younger and bigger, I still want Fred just because he's that kind of guy. But what I would say this is if Fred's not going to play starting point guard for us, I want it to be Scotty. Is that the option should be on our team right now? That if we're not going to play Fred at point guard, if he's going to be more of a catch and shoot shooting guard for us this year and not having as many ball handling duties, then Scotty and Pascal need to do the dual point forward attack. That I don't want any more small point guards. In fact, if Malachi's the last one we bring through our system ever, I would be happy with this. That I want to start having only 6'9", 6'7" kind of point guards going forward. That Scotty Barnes is our future point guard of the future for long term in that kind of ways. That's how I want to look at it, because I want to have a positionless scheme all the time. That if we can get to a roster that's completely positionless in all kinds of ways, maybe we have one small point guard just for specialty defensive reasons. But otherwise, every single person is this team that Masai wants, 12 to 15 Precious Achuas, then Scotty Barnes is going to be our point guard of the future, or Delano Banton. They've got to be tall guys. They can't be any of the little guys. And once again, I overvalue Fred in all kinds of different ways just because of the championship year and just all the different intangibles he brings. And we can't afford to lose. We've lost Lowry. We've lost Leonard, we've lost Serge, we've lost Marc Gasol. We need those linkages to the championship year. They're very, very important and special. And we can't just willy-nilly say, oh, let's trade Fred. Oh, let's trade Pascal. We can't do that. We just can't. I'm sorry. Sue's saying, I think we have a vision for our team. So many teams don't have any vision. I mean, look what Lakers did this year. They threw a bunch of former All-Stars together and thought it would work. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, what is Sacramento's vision right now? What is the New York Knicks vision right now? The teams that are in the playoffs right now all kind of have visions, and they've had plans, and they've worked towards them, and they've built towards them, whether it's Philadelphia with their failed process and how they've gotten to this point with it, or Phoenix, the way they team builded, or the Celtics, the way they're built as a team, or Milwaukee. There's all visions for different teams, but some teams are just inept. Some teams are just not good at executing to get that vision to happen in a way that is like realistic. And I think that's what happened to the Lakers this year. It's like I saw it on paper going in the season. We were saying this on this channel at the beginning of the year, Sue, that the Lakers are a retirement home team. We were calling them a whole bunch of old guys, and they're going to get run off the court. And when they play the Raptors, you're going to see the opposite of who they are. A young team that's working every minute, every second of the time on the court. And meanwhile, they're like, wanting to get out and like take rests, or they're dogging it, or they're not trying as hard. They're definitely not full court pressing for a good chunk of the game like we did at times and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think you're right. Is that like teams want to have a vision or have like things happen for them, but some teams just don't have some of the teams like Orlando, or some teams are just like not in the right kind of market or the right kind of management or ownership that's really driving or pushing towards championships also. So yeah, I think that's something we're very lucky about, is that we have a real team vision. And not only is it a team vision, like it's an innovative team vision. It's a cutting edge team vision that other teams will try and copycat. That we're ahead of the curve, and that we're doing things, we're trying out things that other teams wish they could try out, maybe because they don't have the personnel, or maybe they're not working together with the same goal like our team is, and they can't get it done. It could be the GM of one team's like, I want to go positionless, and the coach is like, I'll never play positionless, or something like that, stuff like that. Click2M saying it's the fans criticizing Jack. But the thing is, Philly fans are removing the context of the situation. They're not talking about what Embiid did all series in the possession before bias. Super, super bias. Super, super bias. It's like, I can't do anything wrong, but everything you do, I can slant or like put a spin on it to make you look bad and wrong and stuff like that. It's like, they want us to be a certain way and be good and nice, and they can be as nasty and awful as they want to be. And that's part of the problem here, is it's like very one-sided and biased about the outlook and how they want us to be like perfect. Like, oh, they put us down as bad, shitty fans when we say fuck Embiid and stuff. Meanwhile, they're going around and saying all this stuff the other way and stuff like that. You can't have it both ways. At a certain point, Sixers Nation, you become super hypocritical. And it's not like I'm trying to tell y'all like what to do in different ways and stuff like that. I know that you're just going to be who you are. but don't try and tell us who we should be as a fan nation, whether we should be nicer or whether we shouldn't be saying fucking beat or whether we should be telling Jack not to apologize because he has no reason to apologize. Don't start judging us that way, because, listen, that's hypocritical. And it's glass houses with stones kind of stuff. You're going to throw stones like that. Well, you better understand that, your house is just as fucked up and toxic in different ways than what you guys are saying too. So listen, it is a free for all. It's a free country, free speech. That's what I say. But don't be hypocrites and call us out for shit that you're doing exactly right back to us. It's not like you're any better than us or anything like that. And you know what? In some ways, I'll say we're not any better than y'all either. It's a very similar toxicity going both ways right now. So Click saying Embiid was cursing at fans. Yeah, he's cursing at fans, and we cursed back at him. Fuck Embiid, fuck Embiid. People have a problem with us saying fuck Embiid. Why? You say fuck things like that. You say stuff like that in your arenas too and stuff like that. It's so crazy. Dark Knight saying, yes, there was some no-name Philly radio host that went off on Jack and Matt. Why are they going after Matt? Matt didn't do anything. In fact, he may have told Jack, he's like, man, why'd you do that? This is bad, Jack. Don't do this. Ron Jeremy's one thing, Jack, but I can't deal with this. You're going to bring so much hate on us for saying it that way and stuff like that. Yeah, whatever. Philly radio host, whatever. Like, honestly, once again, I've been telling people the last week or so since all this controversy and between Philly and Raptor Nation started, just if you're online and you're reading comments that Philadelphia people have written, just imagine if it's a female, or just imagine Sweet D, or if it's a male, an older male, just imagine Danny DeVito from It's Always Sunny. That these are the kind of people that are making these comments towards us from Sixer Nation, the people that are on It's Always Sunny from Philadelphia. That those kind of like characters, those kind of moralistic people are the people that are attacking us right now. Is that's what I just say to myself. Oh, well, it's just these It's Always Sunny losers that are talking this shit to us right now. It's like, just picture Danny DeVito in his fucking underwear and the wife beater shirt. I shouldn't call it that, but you know what I'm talking about. Like him, that's who's talking to you through the computer right now. Just picture Danny DeVito in the dumpster diving on It's Always Sunny and stuff like that. That's the way I deal with it. So I look at it that way. Sue saying the contact on Gary Payton by Dylan Brooks the other night is an example of aggression getting out of control. By letting Embiid get away with his hostile acts, it gives others the idea that they can get away with it too. Yeah. They just need to rein it in. They just need to really make the lines clear that you go over this line, you're going to have to take the penalty. And I've even thought about this. What if we did like a penalty box in basketball, just like hockey? Like, this is kind of think tank kind of talk that we like to do on Thursdays. What if the NBA tried to institute a penalty box for people that made dirty hits in the game? Like, if Joel Embiid hits somebody with an elbow, forget about giving him a foul or anything. Make him go sit in that penalty box for 2 minutes of the game. And you can bring another player in, but that player in particular is not allowed on the court. That way there's no 5-on-4 because that won't work, obviously. But that means you have to stay out of the game for this amount of time because you just had a dirty hit. And that hurts a team because a good player may not be on the court for a crucial time because they made a dirty hit. That's something you should think about in NBA. It's not a penalty box. It's maybe something called penalty minutes. And you're just like, okay, well, you just hit him. You got to go sit on the bench for 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it is. Like, it could be different levels. Like, that is a really bad hit, Joel. You got to go sit for 5 minutes of this quarter, and you cannot come back in until that period of time's up. This is the kind of innovative thinking that we want to do on the think tank here. It's like, that's a really awesome idea in some ways. It would kind of bring an element kind of like hockey into basketball, but it wouldn't be exactly the same. It's just basically, oh, you can't play, Joel, so DeAndre Jordan has to play for 5 minutes instead out on the court, something like that. Tell me what you think about that idea. Penalty minutes. It's not necessarily a penalty box. It's penalty minutes. And they could even do it where there's these double technicals where 2 guys get into it. Then they both go sit down. And both teams have to make subs in that moment with different players on their bench have to come in at that point. So, yeah, I like that. Paul B saying, I'd take Kuzma. He can score. He can definitely score. And he's a high-level scorer. But I think he's under contract with Washington and different things like that. But I think he tipped his cap that he would really love to come to Toronto in some ways, because he was interacting with the Toronto fans who were talking to him, saying, come to Toronto, come to Toronto. And he was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Banana Bread Tan is saying SB, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG, Pascal Siakam, Precious Achiuwa would be an interesting lineup. Put the ball in Scotty and Pascal's hands. Fred would be our off-ball shooter, with OG also being a good catch and shoot, and Precious improving. And then not only that, Gary Trent also. It's kind of like it's an inverted like lineup, because you have your point guards or your smaller guys are actually playing catch and shoot, and your bigger guys are carrying the ball and distributing it. So you put Gary in one corner, and you put Fred in the other corner, and then you have Pascal and Scotty coming down the lanes on either side, and either one of them could be bringing it. It could switch. Like Pascal could be bringing it on the left side one possession, and then Scotty's bringing it on the right side, or vice versa. And then like, boom, they're penetrating. And if they get the penetration and the easy shot in the lane, go ahead and lay it up. But if they're getting a double coming to them real quick, boom, kick the ball out to the 3-point line, and you selected spots where these two other guys can be sitting and camping and waiting to catch and shoot. And that's what I love. And then Precious is just kind of a roamer. He's kind of like, he can do a little bit of everything. Maybe he's crashing the boards after the shot. Maybe he's just kind of trying to cut and do things like that. Or maybe he's one of the catch and shoot guys just in the corner also. Then you have three of them kind of positioned all around and stuff like that. I like this idea. And I think this is very realistic to be something that they do next season, Banana Bread Tan. I'm serious that I think that this is the change that's going to happen in roles, is that we're going to go more double barrel point forward look with Pascal and Scotty being the distributors, and that people like Gary and Fred will be more catching the ball and trying to score for us. Otherwise, like, they can get Fred an open shot and just kick it out to him. Boom, he's going to be money. Like, he's going to be money. If nobody's near him and they drew all the attention to the back to the lane, and they just kick it out to Fred, and he's hitting threes all day like that, easy threes. That's how he can get to 50 points again, is the easy threes and catch and shoot. Dark Knight saying, nice point on starting point guards. I think Delano will make a huge leap. Also, Justin Champagne. Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I saw an Instagram clip this morning. Delano Banton's working out. He's doing the cone work, dribbling through the cones and laying it in. And Justin, he has so much motivation. Not being on the playoff roster, finishing the year with the G League team, he has a lot to prove, because he specifically wants to prove that he's a full-fledged NBA player and that he is not belong on the G League team next season. He wants to be a full roster player. He wants to be somebody fighting for rotation minutes on the Toronto Raptors and not being a starter on the 905. And I wish that more of our guys on the end of the bench had the same kind of motivation that Justin has, the same kind of fire and that same kind of like chip on his shoulder to prove that he belongs, because I feel like these dudes don't have enough motivation, that they're not doing it hard enough like Justin is. Like, he has a certain edge to him. And I really believe that that's going to be the biggest thing, watching Justin in the summer league and training camp, him fighting to get his regular spot in the regular team on the regular Raptors, and not having any kind of two-way contract or anything like that, just being a full-fledged Raptor next season. That is his number one goal. I'll bet you money. And I'm thinking he's going to be very successful, that he's going to come back and show a whole new kind of level of just being really hard-nosed, offensive rebounding, and hitting those threes. Like, he's an underrated three-point shooter for us. And hopefully he'll get to show more of that on the main roster in the new season because of what I just described. Banana Bread Tan saying Kyle Kuzma is 6'9" and has a 7-foot wingspan. He passes the prelim vibe check. Yeah, he gets in the door to our 6'9" long wingspan club that Masai's building. And, you know, his offensive capabilities are very sound. And he has some really good skills offensively, because he's a pretty decent three-point shooter. He's a great slasher and going to the basket. So, yeah, I love the idea of Kyle Kuzma in a Raptors jersey. He's a really good guy to think about. It's Click saying Kyle Kuzma has become underrated. I think so too. I think in a lot of ways the Lakers tossing him away has made kind of played down his, Laker Nation's going to put him down themselves. And they're part of the NBA PR machine in the States. They say, oh, he's our scraps. We didn't want him anymore. He's not that good. And meanwhile, actually on Washington, he did have a pretty good season there in a lot of different ways too. So I think that he's underrated, partly because he's a Laker diss away, and that they for their own egos and things like that. Oh, he sucks. That's why we don't have him on the team anymore, kind of thing. Dark Knight saying, hey, do you have any potential picks or prospects in the draft that you think will fit with the Raps? Well, this is once again something I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on. I don't watch any of the college basketball or anything. There's just too much. I'm so focused on just the Raptors. But you know what? We're going to look at this, and a lot of different people are talking about like different names. Like we've heard Kofi Coburn. There's a kid, Zach Edney, who's from Toronto, is a big center. And then, you guys brought up Christian Koloko earlier and stuff like that. So there's different kind of center kind of guys that keep getting brought up in the stream, and they're all very intriguing. Now, the whole question is, does their game translate from the college level to the NBA level? And that's a whole other thing you got to figure out and understand whether they're actual that good in the NBA. You want somebody like Scotty Barnes, who's not necessarily as good in college, but he's really good in pros. Like Scotty's a way better pro player than he was a college player. It's just the bigger dimensions and maybe a whole bunch of different things about the NBA game difference from the college game that's just better suited to Scotty Barnes. And if we could find a guy like that that's really good in college, but he's an even better pro because he's built like a pro with his body, and he's kind of comes ready with skills and an aptitude and an intelligence to want to learn. That's the kind of guy we want the most from the draft this year. Seymour Pape saying Lakers are interviewing Adrian Griffin. Well, this would make sense because honestly, Nick Nurse isn't available, but sure, why not try and get his number one assistant coach, Adrian Griffin? And that, I've heard him. I've heard Mark Jackson. I've heard who was the other name that they were talking about forgetting for them and stuff like that. But listen, Adrian Griffin will be a great head coach on any team. I don't wish that on him, though. I don't think going to the Lakers is smart for Adrian Griffin. If I was him, I would maybe think about not taking that deal if the Lakers do come calling, even though, it's like, be like Tark. Don't be like, some of these other guys that wanted to come and take the Lakers job. Jerry Tarkanian on that winning time, they were trying to get him so bad. And they were trying so hard. They ended up getting a man murdered by the mob because of that. They were trying so hard to get Jerry Tarkanian out of UNLV to come coach the Lakers on winning time. And that was really interesting stuff. Like really interesting stuff. I think that like the guy who's playing Tarkanian's weird. He doesn't really kind of look like action between him and Jerry Buss. And just like the standoff and then talking shit. And John C. Reilly actually is doing a good Jerry Buss. I was like kind of skeptical. I was like, I'm going to see him as just being John C. Reilly whenever I watch this. But he actually does really fall into that like feel and vibe of Jerry Buss really well in that character and stuff like that. So, but yeah, really fun. And I love all the fuck Bostons in that show. Like there's a lot of uttering fuck Boston on that winning time Lakers HBO series. It's so good. There's a whole montage of fuck Boston, and they go over all the ways that Boston is crooked and cheating and did different shit and stuff like that. Norm Nixon calls it the leprechaun in the building and stuff. And there's a rat running across the floor and stuff like that. And then just like the hate they got. And the weird thing about that series is they're really mixing the history of the Lakers with like comedy and then like really serious political like messages about racism and all kinds of different things. And then like really gratuitous, like unnecessary, like violence and sex, which I don't agree with. Like Adam McKay, the way you made this, like you don't splice in like, when Magic is beating the other guy who's trying to be Cookie's man, like he comes back and he plays a pickup game against the suitor for Cookie, his love of his life, who's married to today. And he plays a basketball game where he absolutely humiliates him on the court. And they cut to this little short part where there's a dog humping another dog, like he's doing that to the guy. And I felt that was so not classy and not the right kind of message to people and stuff like that. And just totally unnecessary. It's like they do these jump cuts to show something else. And I know that they're trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do. Some of it is just really poor writers' devices. Like the way that the characters talk to the camera throughout the series is kind of like really cheap way of writing it and stuff like that. And the montages and stuff, very lazy writing in some ways on the series. But overall, it's not bad. And then I don't like the gratuitous violence. The sex is interesting and whatever. It's HBO, I understand, Game of Thrones, but you see penises and stuff on the show. I'm like, I don't want to see this guy's penis in the locker room. And then like this when the coach had the bike accident and he's on the ground when he just like slid across. There's way too much blood, and it just looks really graphic and unnecessary for that situation in some ways. So they need to balance things. Like they're trying to make Magic look likable, but he's actually very hateable in the series because of the way he jerks Cookie around, and also the way like he's kind of like an asshole to like different people and stuff like that. They made Kareem look bad on the series too. Like he says fuck off to everybody at the beginning of it, and then they kind of show him more and more as time goes on. I do like that they showed him as being very politically conscious and his journey in that way and stuff like that. But there's just too much. They're trying to do too many different things with the Winning Time series. Whether it's trying to be funny, whether it's trying to be a drama, whether it's trying to be a documentary, or whether it's trying to be like a snarky, like fun film where we cut in little clips in the middle of it and make it like a funny joke or something like that. That's just my personal opinion from binging it yesterday. But there were some things about it that were absolutely fantastic also. Really well done, too. Seymour saying both Gobert and Mitchell requested out of Utah. Who should we target? Out of the two of them, Mitchell. But I don't really want him because we'll have to give something up to get Mitchell because he's not necessarily somebody you can just get. You're going to have to trade somebody for him going back the other way. And he doesn't really fit our position list in some ways. He's a smaller guard and stuff like that. And I definitely don't want Gobert. Gobert, to me, at this point, is basically like Anthony Davis. They're very similar players. They're both very big guys with huge contracts that get hurt a lot, and they don't give you a lot on the court. Yeah. Paul B saying that show has Mike D in episode 2 in the restaurant. I didn't see that Easter egg. There are little weird Easter eggs all throughout it, and they did get an amazing cast. But Paul B, hey, that's cool. Maybe I do kind of remember seeing Mike D in there somewhere, but that would make sense and stuff like that. But anyway, I gotta say, I recommend watching Winning Time at this point. I said don't watch it, but it's worth watching just to see it. But there is a lot of it that I don't necessarily like also in it, but there's enough in it that's interesting. And I don't think anybody should watch it and say, oh, this is exactly how it all happened, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff that happened on it did not happen that way. It's exactly like that. So anyway, y'all, I think this has been a pretty good first Thursday think tank for the off season. I appreciate everybody coming in here, and definitely we'll do a more structured, centered around either possible draft picks or free agency talk like Banana Bread Tan was talking about earlier. We're going to figure this out. And every Thursday, we'll just in general talk about the future for the Raptors and ideas and things that could be possible for the franchise and improving it and winning and stuff like. Thanks, Dark Knight. Appreciate to you. Good work to you guys too. Also with coming with ideas and stuff. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be the Friday freak out. That's going to be fun. It's always fun to see me just go off for 5 minutes, just ranting and raving. And I don't know who I'm going to rant and rave at yet, but I have a feeling it may be, I don't know if I'm going to continue anything with the Philly Nation right now. I think it'll be something different. So look out for me tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time live. Please like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe if you heard anything you liked today or just enjoy a daily Raptors live stream in the morning. I appreciate y'all. All the best. Have a great Thursday afternoon, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.